Welcome to another Forge Forward podcast, the Industry Industrial Innovation podcast. My name is Phil de Cruz again, your host, and I'm with the infamous Courtney Smith. And today on the podcast, we have Mark Balcon from Stratus Consulting Group. Now, get ready to explore the cutting edge innovation ahead of our Forge Summit in November, where industry leaders and innovators in the dangerous, dirty sectors unite. Forge isn't just an event, it's a movement lifting all longbows by uniting top partners and customers, showcasing the future-aligned expertise across the 4S's, which is safety, scalability, sustainability, and sellability. Every tech revolution feels daunting, but we're lucky to have visionaries who live in the bit in the future to guide us. Isn't that right, Mark?
Absolutely, glad to be here.
Beautiful. All righty.
Well, it's great to be here, Phil. So we'll get into the meat and gravy and we'll rise some longboats. Before we get into the innovation piece, Mark, which is a fundamental component of the Forge conference, can you just tell us a little about your company and the unique value it brings to industry?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, Stratus Consulting Group, we've been around for almost 20 years. We're formed through the merger of two existing highly successful ERP consulting firms. I was one of the founders and have worked in the ERP and business management software space for almost 25 years, which makes me sound really old. Our team, we specialise in assisting clients select, implement, and then run smart software solutions for their whole business. So we specialise in three key different systems, being Acumatica, Microsoft, and Epicor, which apply to different tiers within the market. Yep. And other specialised apps and platforms that further extend it. And so we help our clients basically select the right system, implement it, and then use it for the lifetime of the system.
25 years, mate, that's a long time. Have you been at the helm for 25?
Yeah, well, look, I worked for MYOB for about 8-9 years, and in various roles there, starting off in technical and then through to sales and national sales manager. And that was kind of my background at the start in the industry, and then went out on my own and built up the business from there.
Love it. Great stories. And that's across Australia, or mainly focused in a particular domain or geographic boundary?
We're all over. So through the merger, so originally there was myself and Dimitri, two business partners. We started in Victoria, and then we merged with a company out of Perth, where Mike and John, the two directors, joined us. We now have offices right around Australia.
Amazing. So we're really proud to have you as a partner in the Forge event. We're looking to do something really unique with Forge. What was it that you bought off on in regards to Forge and how it can benefit industry and the wider ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we often have many options available in the market, and clients are struggling to know where to go for good information and advice on the best solutions for them. We come across clients who have been trying to keep up in today's competitive market with basic accounting packages like Xero, MYOB, and they just have a whole bunch of Excel sheets, or worse, the information is just in someone's head. Yeah. It's a lot to manage if you're growing. And so making the move to an integrated system that runs the whole business is scary. And it's easy to waste a lot of time and money on bad choices. So many clients go down a path and then it fails and the project doesn't work. And it's not because the concept isn't right, they've just made the wrong choice for their business in a solution. Yeah. So I think what Forge does is it brings together a wealth of knowledge on all the options out there and what's possible with technology. And that's the first challenge. Many customers just don't even know what's possible. What can I do? Once they know what's possible, then we can start saying, well, which one is right for me? So when I saw that, we're going to have a collection of the absolute best technology vendors and partners, they've been handpicked as industry leaders in the one room. It's a perfect opportunity for customers to come and speak to them face to face, speak to us, speak to you guys, listen to the presentations. It's a really unique offering.
Yeah, look, we have some fantastic speakers, futurists, heads of industry in certain domains, and for me, everything you've said resonates. It's when you go to an event, often these trade shows that are run out there, as we know, they try and grab someone from the audience. You might get some brand rec. You get up in a stage. They don't really push the information. It's more about selling booths, and so therefore you sit up on stage and you talk to an audience of 4 or 5 people. Our thought is that if we've all got customers that are looking out there in the marketplace regularly to improve their businesses, and generally people that come to our organisations do that, Mark, then the value prop is to see all of these amazing people in the same room at the same time and letting you lean into the future curve a little bit without having to spend hours and hours of research, hoping you find an outcome. You get to speak direct to the horse, so to speak. So we're on your page and really appreciate that feedback, Luke.
Yeah, and speaking to other customers who have already gone down some of the journey as well is invaluable. You're going to meet other people in your industry who have,
yeah, it's huge.
So that's really cool.
Excellent. I would like to know, how does Stratus Group, how do they stay ahead of the industry trends, and what kind of role does the partnerships play in the success of Stratus Group?
Yeah, that's a great question. Over 25 years, you can imagine I've seen a huge amount of change in our industry. Back only 8 years ago, cloud-based ERP was really in infancy, and I would say most customers thought it was a long way off on their radar.
Okay.
We would get active pushback from most clients saying, "Oh, we would never trust our system in the SaaS," which it sounds funny these days, and that's not that long ago. But at Stratus, we could see the benefits of cloud-based solutions early, and we invested heavily in these new technologies. And some of our competitors were still pushing back and continuing to sell what are now legacy on-premise solutions, we looked to pioneers. We worked with businesses to be early adopters. We had pilot sites with some of these newer ERPs, and that puts us at a huge advantage when things did turn around and now no one wants to be on-premise anymore. So we were already experienced. We had many projects under our belt and all the learnings from those. So that was really important. And we ensure that this continues. We're always up to date. So my role at Stratus is actually Director of Business Growth. So what that means, my job is to ensure that we're always recommending and implementing the best systems that are out there across the latest technologies. And our company is always evolving. We're taking on new partnerships with various vendors and software packages that are the best and up to date.
Yeah, look, you in essence encapsulate the whole point around Forge. It's very easy to think that something is way off into the future because you don't have the information at hand, or because you're generally a nervous person, or consider that change is something that is confronting. The challenge you've got, though, is if you don't lean in, you can be the one that sits behind the innovation curve and therefore misses opportunities in new customers and new markets and all sorts of things. On that note, and leaning into that a little bit, can you give me a success story that highlights the strengths that Stratus brings to the marketplace and their commitment to innovation?
Yeah, absolutely. So a project that we recently worked on was with a company called Rare Foods. They're a case study site that you can read more about on our website. But this client specializes in harvesting abalone and other sort of exotic foods, and they sell them at different levels. So they're going direct to customers at their sort of little restaurant shop on site, wholesale customers, export customers, and all those markets have very, very different needs. A lot of regulation. It's a public listed company. So from a software perspective, it was tricky. We were able to implement a system where they had Acumatica as their core ERP. We then partnered with a company called Wake Off for streamlined payroll and timesheets, and then one retail point of sale for the shop floor, for the actual shop retail outlet called the Ocean Pantry. There was a lot of compliance that they needed to do because they have a zero waste objective in their whole supply chain. So they, as the abalone matured, was harvested, we used the features within the ERP to help grade it, ensure they could maximize the value of each harvest, and then they got a detailed breakdown of all of the components, so all the kilos of the core abalone, the shells, the meat, any waste. It was all meticulously recorded and tracked. And that enabled them to ensure that every part was used, whether it's for colouring use or something else, and that supported their zero waste objective. So it was a great project, and there was a lot of changes that were required within the system to make that work, but huge benefits, financially for them in the long run.
Well, there's two things I can link into that story. I come from a little fishing village called Flinders down on the Mornington Peninsula. For those that don't know, it's on the southernmost tip alongside Wilson's Promontory in Victoria. In Flinders, we are known for abalone because we're on the Western Port, and the Western Port happens to be able to farm and support the abalone industry. We had a friend who was doing some abalone diving out near Seal Rock. Now, if you know Seal Rock is full of seals, fur seals, and there's some big sharks that like to get out amongst Seal Rock. So our friend was doing a little bit of a dive down deep, 20, 30 metres underwater, and he saw this dark shadow hit. It wasn't a shark. It was actually a walrus protecting the area. It hit him at pace and put its tusk through his arm in his wetsuit. And you can imagine his fear factor. So this is the other things abalone divers and the abalone industry have to deal with. The fear factor of having to get up to the surface because there are big sharks in the water and he just started bleeding, right? So that's an abalone story that we probably weren't expecting, Mark. And the second bit that was really interesting is you talked about a supply chain value proposition that led actually to sustainable outcomes as well. So that was pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. And you did address all the Green Tree people, listeners that are still on Green Tree. Maybe you should come check out Stratus and see if we can get an uplift there. Yeah. I think one of the key principles we would like to address at the Forge is, industry challenges and strategies. And I would like to know, how do, the current challenges you see coming over the horizon, and how does Stratus Group seek to navigate these challenges?
Yeah, look, the main challenges we see more and more recently, and it will only increase, is companies tending to just go out and bolt on software or take up multiple subscriptions for things that don't really work together. And they end up in silos and in a worse position than before. Yep. So, many app providers promote and talk about a utopia where everything just plugs in and works with your existing systems. But unfortunately, that's just not the case. I could probably spend a whole day talking about this one topic alone. I won't, I promise. But in a nutshell, you're getting different systems to talk together, and it's hard. Harder still is getting them to talk exactly how you need them to. So just because something integrates with something else, that doesn't mean that it will handle your specific workflows and needs. And so companies often buy apps that may be, inexpensive to plug a gap, but then it means that other departments are no better off or worse off. So, there's no problem in plugging in best of breed software for a specific need, but it must be done as a part of an overall digital transformation project, or it'll just fail. So, for example, there's a client that had this exact issue. They purchased multiple applications for different segments of the business with no central team on the project, insufficient planning, and it just didn't work. And to help that client, what we do is we can come in, and the first thing we do is come in and document the needs and future goals. Putting all systems aside, we just say, what do you need? What are the goals? And then we took that agreed list and we said, okay, which current systems achieve these goals already? Let's keep those. And then the ones that don't, they can be put aside. And then, we can put in the right applications that all talk together and make sure that everyone within the business is going to get a benefit from it. And so that's a big challenge, and it's something that we're going to continue to do. We want to warn customers of the pitfalls of going out and just grabbing bits and pieces, and that can be a harsh reality sometimes. And then what we want to do is help them prepare a good overall plan and then action it and implement it well.
I see this. I was going to say, Courtney, I see this all the time. Like, they shoot themselves in the foot by getting so many multiple single silo softwares, jamming them together, and they end up doing more work than they were just doing all on paper. And sometimes paper is a better option than that. So ideally, yes, you need something that has a system that has all these, various operations in a software that reduce that, manual data entry, to remove double data handling, and to really streamline the whole operation process. But Courtney, definitely.
Well, no, mate, I was going to say, we've actually labelled it with diagrams of a spaghetti mess of data silos, right? The spaghetti mess of data can be worse than paper. That's something that I think all organisations chase, that cheap, fast solution, and it doesn't align to a long-term data strategy in terms of information flow. The other bit that organisations, I find, can easily go with a top-down strategy, forgetting how important it is to look at the ground and the field force that they're trying to satisfy. And if you don't get a satisfied field force, which is not 100 apps to use, then you're going to get a real gap in information, because people will be recalcitrant and choose not to play if it's too hard and it's too onerous. So change management then becomes a nightmare. So you've got to think about your design, you've got to think about the implementation strategy, you've got to think about the data silos. There's lots to think about, and that's sort of the value prop of all of the people we're bringing to this Forge event, is to make sure that we're thinking like this as a collective and educating customers to be smarter about their decisions. We'll keep moving. I'm conscious of time, Phil. Just a quick one, and we'll jump into it quickly, Mark, if it's okay. Collaboration is something that I believe in. I'm very much around abundance, and I believe if we can work with people, we trust and we know can deliver high quality outcomes, we will guide customers and partners and all sorts of people in the right direction. How important is collaboration to you?
It's critical. I mean, there's collaboration between us and clients, which is vital. There needs to be collaboration within our client's team and between us and other partners that we work with. And, I've spoken about this before, but we don't work with absolutely every ISV that's accredited for, packages that with the ERPs that we work with, because unless we have a good relationship with the vendor and can provide good support, then it just won't work. So, I think I've mentioned previously scenarios where the customer talks about being caught in the middle, where they've got two systems and something happens and they come to us or to the software vendor, ERP vendor on its own, and it was the ISV, and the ISV knows the ERP. We don't want that to ever happen. So collaboration between all parties is critical to making all this work throughout the life cycle of the product. So
and I see partnerships being huge for our industry because, as we said, there's so many data silos that it's likely that if you find a great vendor that understands that issue, they'll have partners that will assist in your requirements on either side of that issue. So that's really interesting that we've talked about the whys, so to speak. What about measuring success? What's a measurement of success in your business, and what tools do you use to measure your success?
Yeah, absolutely. So look, aside from the obvious sort of financial goals and team stability and happiness, which is vital for us as a service business, really the key for us is customer satisfaction. It's vital, that the vast majority of our new clients come from word of mouth. So you can't underestimate that enough, and we love our clients. So we measure that through our CRM. We've implemented HubSpot recently, and we use the three key metrics that are pretty much industry standard through NPS, CSAT, and customer effort score. And they all serve different purposes, but we have all of those running, and we benchmark really high for our industry, which is key for us and vital, but you have to stay on top of that. We don't ever want to have any sort of negative or detractors. They will happen, but how we react to those and rectify the situation is really important. We've got dedicated members of our team in customer success who that's their responsibility, and they will constantly be monitoring that and actioning and adopting how we do things to make sure that we get positive results all the time. Amazing.
It links into one of the big measurements at the moment, which is around sustainability and social responsibility. Not every business has a need to assess and measure these elements within their business. But when you start to get into mid-tier and top-tier organisations, particularly government contract or regulatory managed, I heard recently that Coles was pushing down to all their supply chain a requirement to fill out an ESG assessment and to assess what they're doing around their social governance and their environmental governance. So what are you seeing out there, and what do you see personally as those things are important around these two topics?
Yeah, we're definitely seeing it a lot with our clients in the construction space. It's been there for a while, and as I said, sort of expanding into other industries. And so we are definitely helping our clients in utilising the systems to easily track and report on these things, because it's all well and good doing it, but now you have to prove it. So using the ERP to be able to record all these important attributes about your employees and various groups that they may fall under, compliance through recruitment processes. So all of that is things that we're working with our clients on to implement within their ERP or payroll HR systems. So we're across the board, and it's very easy to do once you've got your own framework of business needs, and we can map that to systems that will then help you track it. And look, personally, I do a bit of volunteering. I'm involved with the local scout groups. I think it's not just as a business, but personally, everyone should be, where possible, looking to help, especially on the social side and supporting charities and volunteer work.
Yeah, and I love that, mate, because it's the fabric of who I am, and it's one of the things I almost ask everyone I work with these days is, what are you doing in your own little backyard to support your communities? Firefly will probably be our for-purpose business model we'll support under Forge, and that's all about elevating volunteers. We're going to lean into a bit of future trends and technology now, I think. Phil, do you want to kick us off and get into this? This is all about the over the horizon, all about where we're getting to. So, Phil, over to you, mate.
Yeah, well, mate, the future can be seen in many different lenses. So I would like to start off by saying, can you give us a little quick picture of how your company plans to separate itself from its competitors in this such evolving landscape?
Yeah, I think we've historically been fast to adapt to change and take on new technologies. So I think that if our clients or prospective new clients go with us on their journey, they'll be really well informed, and they can be comfortable their systems are going to be up to date. These new technologies coming through are core to what we do. We're seeing AI being built into core ERP functions that help automate and ensure accuracy of data. There's robotics coming through most warehouse management systems now. It's becoming more affordable and a lot easier. We've seen that a lot more. IoT has been around for quite some time, but now you're able to grab that IoT data, especially in manufacturing, and pair that with AI to predict when machines might break down in the future and when they should be serviced. Stuff like that is just phenomenal and really exciting to be a part of.
Yeah, it's amazing. So you're finding that because the data points, they've been their own data silos in their own right, the IoT space, and unless you had a really, really comprehensive design brief at the front end to integrate all those, generally they've been siloed. Things we're seeing, refrigeration, maintenance cycles, all sorts of things around IoT points, geographic. We're now seeing amazing technologies in machine vision. I don't know if you've seen anything in machine vision. So this is where videos and images can be recognized to pull out, extract, and gather information rapidly and efficiently. So what used to be, and we all know this, being guys who've played in systems, is OCR was like this phenomenal thing. And if you remember, doing receipts was like one of the things that was the hardest thing to do in business. There were Mechanical Turk sitting behind technologies to make sure that information was correct. And for those that don't know what a Mechanical Turk is, that's someone sitting offshore as a cheap labor resource, actually looking at the photo and filling in the gaps where the technology couldn't find the difference, right? So these huge workforces sitting behind the scenes, which were the innovation, right? That's changing so fast. Like machine vision now is going to be exponential. Tesla's come on the road, and they're about to self-drive cars with machine vision. So, man, we're in for a hot streak, and we've all got to be ready, I reckon.
Yeah.
So we'll jump into one of the other things that we think Forge is really focusing on, and this is this concept. And we touched at the top, Mark. You let us off with a conversation piece around seeing a group of people in a room at the same time to try and identify something that might resonate with your business and how it may add value. So we're going to lean into the concept of a signal and signals, and our aim is to try and at Forge provide lots of unique signals across the event for people to walk away and feel like they've derived huge value. What types of signals are you seeing in the market that you consider to be the crucial components for maintaining a company's ongoing success and relevance?
Yeah, we're seeing more and more that customers are using technology to drive efficiency and be able to compete. Business would rather automate and be more efficient than throw people at a problem. And so for us, this is the heart of what we do. And so, I'm excited to keep helping our clients achieve this for a long time to come. But they're kind of a signal of where this is relevant and why customers would come to an event like this, because they are wanting to adapt and use those technologies.
Look, I held a business dinner the other night, and the topic was AI, and I posed a question: AI was a child, would you restrict its growth? And the reason why I posed that question to the audience was we have three people I'm seeing emerging in this space at the moment. We have the adopters or the positive. We have the neutral, not so sure, don't know enough about it. And then we have the negative, which think it's going to take over the world and be the next Armageddon. And somewhere in the middle is the truth, right? In this space, we know we've been in technology long enough to know not everything lands. And that's the bit I think is a pure signal we're looking to try and assist with, is what are the likely things that will emerge in the next 4, 5, 10 years that you need to start thinking about and planning for. So your advice is fantastic, and we continue to try and add flavour and information flow for anyone that joins Forge, and certainly for these podcasts as we lead into Forge that should be of high value content. We're in the home stretch, mate. It's 25 minutes. We try and lock at 30. Try and keep it tight. Phil, do you want to knock out some of those key things we want to close with Mark? It's been a fascinating conversation to date for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can't agree with you even more, Courtney. Everyone's on a different future curve, and be interesting at the event who comes out and who leaves with something at the event. My last question I just wanted to say is, what advice can you have that you can do for other companies looking to innovate in today's rapidly changing landscape?
Yeah, look, I think keep looking internally. Keep speaking to your team members at all levels of the organisation and look for bottlenecks or anywhere where they feel life can be easier. And often customers come to me and say, well, what can we do? What else can this system do? Well, I don't know. It can do really anything you want. What's going to give you value? So, and the best way to do that is literally just by going and just talk to each department and say, if you could change 2 things in the systems that we work with, obviously because we work in systems, what would they be? What would make your life easier? And they may be things that you think can't be done, and they may be like there's nothing you can do about it, but often you can. And so just by understanding that, and that's something that must be done internally with the business. Once you've got that list and you say, right, okay, well, these are the areas where we're being held back. Then you go out and you talk to, someone like us at Stratus or, experts in that field that can say, yep, we can solve these 4 out of 5 things by making these changes. So that's probably the
look it makes me smile because it's always you don't know what you know until you know what you don't know, that scenario. Okay. And then what I find is in this world, when they speak to people like yourself, Mark, or Phil or myself, is that the knowledge explosion that takes place, their incredible thinking that comes off just that conversation alone in where they can add value just is always exponential. It sometimes makes for a hard change management program from the back end of that, but the exponentiality of the thinking is the bit that I lean into a lot, and conversation and flavour of information allows you to do that. That's been an amazing closeout for me in terms of core conversation pieces. We're really lucky to have had you on the podcast, Mark, today, and we really want to invite our listeners to participate in the upcoming Forge event. We're looking for all of our partners, and we hope by the Forge date that we'll have up to 20 partners at this event, showing very unique technologies and solutions for marketplace, and adding really, really positive information and signals for customers to attend by November. These are people that are innovators, leaders. I've got a rock star coming to speak, so we hope that everyone gains something from that person. Did you want to add anything else, Phil, to close out today? It's been a wonderful conversation.
It's been wonderful, and that was a great takeaway to wrap the whole Forge Forward podcast up. So thank you very much for your time, Mark. It's great to see you as a pioneer in the industry, leaving a great trailblaze behind you. So thank you again.
Brilliant. Thanks for having me. Really great to be here. Thanks so much.
Stay tuned for more in-depth conversations, guys, and see you on the next one.
Beautiful. Thank you, guys.